bright and glorious sight of Nigel Mansell, followed by Eddie Cheever and the rest, emerging from a sunlit pit lane for the first full 30 competitors practice session for Sunday's Australian Grand Prix. The pre-qualifying has been completed. The two Osella drivers, Larini and Ginzani, have gone through, together with Philippe Alliot and JJ Leto, making up 30 with the other 26 who do not have to pre-qualify. And now this circuit is new for everybody here this year. They have not been able to do any pre-testing at Adelaide as they do at many of the other circuits. So everybody will be out there as soon as possible to see what things are like this year.
Thanks, Murray. Well, we're seeing a lot of firsts this time and a lot of last. We're seeing the Ferrari with number 27 and 28 for the last time. Of course, next year they're going to have the number 1 and 2, and they're going to be without Berger, but they're going to gain Alain Prost. Indeed.
Alan, how would you expect a V8 engined car like the two we're looking at, the Frenchman Jean Alesi and Nannini there, to go here in comparison with the V12 Ferrari and the V10 Hondas and Renaults?
Well, they're obviously a little bit more down on horsepower than the V10 and the V12. The V8 should have slightly better pickup, a little bit lower torque than the V10 and the V12s. They seem to get their power by higher revs, and they've got slightly longer legs. So the V8 could actually give everyone a bit of a shock here in Adelaide, and particularly the Benetton, because it also likes tight, twisty circuits.
But, Alan, we're not really looking for tremendously fast times here, because this is a work session for the drivers, this 1.5 hours.
It's very much a have a look and have a see and have a fiddle with the car. They're going out there now just to play with compounds, play with constructions, set up their suspension, set up their aerodynamics, make sure the gear ratios, that they're predetermined, are the right ones. It's become so sophisticated today, they can actually look at a circuit, look at a computer. The computer tells them within a very close range what gear ratios they should have in, and they can almost tell by the computer what average lap times they should be doing, giving those gear ratios on the circuit. So this morning will be used for setting the car up for this afternoon's qualifying, but towards the end of this morning, when they're reasonably happy with their setup, they will probably go out with a set of qualifiers just to see what they're like on this particular circuit. And because, as you know, this afternoon they're only given 2 sets of tyres, so they've got to be spot on to get the good time.
Hello, there.
Hello, it's Modena.
Stefano Modena. He's got a lot of experience, and he's trying to find the limits of the car, and he's apparently succeeding.
Well, he didn't muck about. He spun it. I think he got it into first gear while he was spinning and got going again. So that was a good effort.
Thierry Boutsen getting going, the winner of the Canadian Grand Prix. He's in an FW13 Williams. That's the new car. It's had the thing, frankly, that a lot of teams dread, and that's introducing a new car partly through the season. It's got a very good engine with the Renault 10-cylinder, which doesn't have quite the power, but is extremely reliable. But the chassis needs, oh my goodness, you can see how difficult that chassis is to drive. It's very twitchy and very sensitive and very difficult to set up. Someone's knocked his nose cone off.
I think it's the
Cesaris.
Yeah.
Yes. There's the proof. Half a nose cone.
Andrew is getting stuck into it early on in the piece.
Look at it, look at it, look at his left front wheel. And his... Let's, you and I, stick our necks out, Alan, and give the viewers something to criticise us about by making a forecast about what the fastest time at the end of this 90-minute session will be. You go first.
Oh, thank you, Murray. I would say they'll be low 16s. 1 minute 16.
Wow. I was going to say 1 minute 17.4, so I better say it. And it's 1 minute 18.1 at the moment. Nigel Mansell has moved up to second fastest now, ahead of his teammate Gerhard Berger, 1 minute 18.2, which is only 1/10 of a second currently slower than Senna. But as Alan and I have both just confidently said, we think there's a lot more to come. 1 minute 18.1, there is Derek Warwick. Oops, off he goes. Now, there's some damage to be repaired for Derek Warwick's arrows. And Ayrton Senna coming through very shortly to complete the lap over the line. Now, let's see what the time is and whether there's any improvement on the 1:18.1 as Derek Warwick hops out of the arrows. And I don't think Senna's time was, in fact... Yes, it was. 1:17.749. And that makes him fastest by half a second again. It's the first time under 1:18. And you're looking at Derek Warwick's crumpled arrows.
That's what you call terminal understeer, Murray.
Here he is. 1:17.749 is his own fastest lap time.
The McLaren looks very steady over those bumps. It's got these shock absorbers, which the front ones, when they go across the bumps, have got the ability to tell the rear ones that, look, I've just gone over a little bit of a bump, and the rear ones adjust automatically in hundreds and thousands of a second, and that, of course, makes the car ride a lot smoother, and then the driver just has to concentrate on lines.
Fastest again. Another 3/10 off his previous fastest time. Martini goes up into second place. This is amazing. Pierluigi Martini, the little Italian who's come back to Grand Prix racing after having been out in Japan with damaged ribs, is second fastest to Ayrton Senna, ahead of Mansell. Nannini has gone up to fourth fastest. We're getting the reshuffle that we've been predicting, but Pierluigi Martini is undoubtedly, with Leto, one of the Fines and Alesi of 1989, and he's second fastest. But Glenn Dix has the checkered flag out. The session is finishing. There he is.
Okay, Mary, double or nothing for qualifying?
1:17.4 is... there's not many times I beat a world champion, but I seem to have done it this time. And Ligier have got a lot of work to do on Olivier's car. So, to summarise, at the end of the first major practice session for the 1989 Australian Grand Prix, unsurprisingly, Ayrton Senna, the world champion of 1988, is in the leading position, 0.6 of a second faster than the superb Pierluigi Martini in his Minardi.
Well, that's the first free practice session out of the way. A couple of surprises there. No surprise with Senna, but Martini coming in second. And, of course, Prost down in ninth spot. Right now, Darrell Eastlake is talking to the young Italian driver.
Here, congratulations. You've had to qualify first and now very fast time.
Yeah, I am happy, and we have beginning now to work in the car. I have some problem in the car, and I think that I can do better for tomorrow.
What is the reason for the car and you going so quickly at this end of the season? Just a lot of development work?
We have worked a lot with Pirelli and with my engineering of Minardi team, and we have I think that we have worked very well, and we are very happy of this result.
Congratulations, great drive.
Thank you very much.
Well, why wouldn't Martini be happy? He surprised everyone here today.
Very happy man indeed. It's a remarkable performance. I think a lot of it's down to his tyres, however. I think they've got a very hot qualifying tyre, Pirelli, but nevertheless, he's driven very well, and the chassis must be good too.
And Prost?
Well, I'm disappointed by Prost being down in ninth. I expected a little more out of him, but you can never count him out. He's a very intelligent racing driver, and I think you'll see a lot more of him this weekend. I was not at all surprised, of course, about Senna. I fully expected him to be up the front end.
Streaming out of the pit lane now in the opening minutes of this 60-minute session, which may well decide grid times for tomorrow. For Sunday, although we would expect tomorrow's times normally to be faster. And the time they're going for at the present moment is the fastest time that was put up in the free practice this morning. That was by Ayrton Senna in 1:17.415 seconds. And you're looking now at JJ Leto, the Finnish driver, who went round this morning 13th fastest. He pre-qualified yesterday, 4th fastest, and this is his first time at the Adelaide circuit, so it's a fine drive by the young Finn, and we can expect to see and hear a lot more of him in future. And off goes Philippe Alliot, The Frenchman who's always trying very, very hard, and he's normally very quick on the circuit or very quickly off the circuit. Well, he's been both so far. He's 6th fastest, and he's already spun off. You're watching Riccardo Patrese, who this morning was disappointing because he was only 15th fastest, 1 minute 19.5. This new FW13 Williams, which has only got 4 Grand Prix behind it, is very nervous, very difficult to set up for a course like this. And it's going to be interesting to see whether they've been able to improve on it in the 1.5 hours that have elapsed since the end of this morning's free practice. Patrese is 4th fastest at the moment, 1 minute 20.2, and his time this morning was 1 minute 19.5, but I think that this is a quicker lap. He's got the Renault V10 engine behind him. Martini is now fastest, as you can see, quicker than Nannini. 1 minute 19.4, so that moves Patrese up in terms of his time achievement, but it doesn't improve his place. There is the fastest man so far, little Pierluigi Martini, the man of whom very few people thought very much a few years ago, because he came into Formula 1 too early, went back to Formula 3000, got some racing experience under his belt, came back last year, scored his first ever World Championship point on his return to Grand Prix racing, and has improved consistently since. Then Larini spins it. They're all trying very hard indeed, and it's marvellous the way they recover. That's Thierry Boutsen, and the action news is that Nigel Mansell in the Ferrari, one of the 4 quickest men, is on the circuit. That's Boutsen, the winner of the Canadian Grand Prix. You can see the way that car points and darts on the surface of the track, but it's tricky indeed. Pierre-Henri Raffanel behind him, trying desperately to qualify the Real, and is unlikely to do so. Boutsen goes inside. Stefano Modena, the Italian, in the Brabham, and Nigel Mansell is in the background, darts out from behind Modena's car, and let's see if he closes up on Thierry Boutsen, who is currently 13th fastest.
Looks to me as if Mansell's on a quick one as well. Boutsen had a bit of interference there from Modena. That will have spoiled his lap just enough to take the edge off it. Mansell looks as if he's gone straight out on preheated tyres. And this is where timing is so important, with the choice of when you go for your lap, or traffic, of course, being always the big problem. So we wait to see Mansell's time come up on our screens. And Nigel Mansell, not particularly quick, a 1:21 dead, knocking a little puff of smoke there from a lock brake by Mansell. But this looks like he's been building up. He's certainly hauling in Thierry Boutsen.
And will Boutsen hold him up? The answer is no. Nigel has to deviate slightly to get past the Belgian's Williams Renault, but that won't have made any difference to his time. And now, 16 minutes into the 60-minute session, Martini is still fastest in the Pirelli Shod Minardi Ford, 1:18.5. Mansell bears down on Larini and takes him. It's Nannini in the Benetton Ford in second place. Jean Alesi, the Frenchman in the Tyrrell, one of the sensations of 1989, is third. Patrese is fourth. Brundle is fifth. Larini is sixth, and Mansell, who you are looking at, is 14th on 1 minute 21.073. His target time is 1 minute 18.534. There it is. And it looks as though he's going to be very close indeed to it, because he is coming out of Foster's hairpin now, up to the line. Not fast enough, though. Not nearly fast enough. In fact, 2 seconds off the pace.
Welcome back to Adelaide on this magic Friday afternoon. Beautiful weather, beautiful racing. Martini is still the fastest on the track. The McLarens have just gone out. Let's join our commentators, Murray Walker and Jackie Stewart.
So very much depends for Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost on the results of the Australian Grand Prix. It's not going to affect the World Championship now, but it is going to affect the pride of both men. Each will be determined to beat the other to prove that he deserved to be world champion. Prost is, Senna isn't. Now here is Ayrton Senna, and he is certainly on a fast one, and there's always an air of despondency and gloom in the pit lane when Ayrton Senna is driving like this, because it seems almost inevitable that the Brazilian will take pole position. He's done it 41 times in his career already. He would make it 42 if he did so here, and as you can see, 41, 2 seconds into the lap, he's challenging Pierluigi Martini's 1 minute 18.170, which is fastest so far, 31 minutes into the 60-minute session.
This is a fast lap. Senna is going hard. You can see the car losing adhesion. You can see the back end sliding out. He doesn't want to do that very often, and he's just screwed it up. He went right over the curb. This may still be quite a fast lap, or he may cool it now to save his tyres just a wee bit. Yes, he has. He's backed off. He will disregard this lap and try and get it on as he passes the start-finishing line, or use one other lap. That's what he's doing. He's backing off. He's letting the Tyrrell go through, and you will not have seen a quick one. He'll be talking now to his pits. He will be explaining to his engineers and to Ron Dennis on his onboard radio that he made a mistake. He ran over the curb. He's going to get his emotions together again, and it's really emotions that are the big game here in qualifying. You've got to have absolutely the correct mind management. There's no good of letting your heart rule your head, and Alain Prost never let that happen, and now he's on pole position with a remarkable 1:17.992. So Prost is our new pole position holder at the moment.
And if ever there was a red rag waved at anybody, that news, which already will have been conveyed to Ayrton Senna that you're looking at, is it. Alain Prost now fastest. Even with that slowing down lap, Ayrton Senna was 4th fastest, but Alain Prost's 1 minute 17.9 is the quickest we've had this afternoon. And as Alain Prost goes into another lap, Barry Sheene has information in the pit lane.
Yeah, Murray, I've been talking to Gordon Murray from McLaren's and also the guys at Ferrari, and the general sort of consensus opinion is that the Goodyear qualifier isn't in fact as good as the Goodyear race tyre. They're saying that the Pirelli qualifier is a very, very good tyre, but they don't think it's going to have such a good race tyre. And also that they're going slower this afternoon because the temperature down here is a hell of a lot higher than it was earlier on.
Here is Ayrton Senna, incidentally, who's just snatched pole position from Alain Prost. He's on another lap, whether it's a very quick one or not, but he certainly achieved it. He's done a faster time than Alain Prost, 1 minute 17.949, and that is fastest on pole position at the moment for Ayrton Senna.
We have the tantalizing thought of the McLarens on the front row of the grid again as we join Eddie Cheever in his Arrows on his way down Jones Straight. Got the Ford V8 engine behind him. Down Decaturville Terrace now. This is the fastest part of the course. He's building up to 290 kilometers an hour. Watch his right hand as he changes gear. Down into racetrack hairpin, 2nd gear, about 50 miles an hour out of that. Up into 3rd gear, round paddock turn. See him correcting the steering all the time. He's well down. He's only 24th on the grid, and his car was looking very, very nervous this morning. Eddie Cheever has not done well in qualifying in Grand Prix this year. Let's see how he's going. Well, that's the lap completed. He goes into the chicane again, and he has improved his time, but he's still only 19th. And off goes Briard. Well, I said this morning after Briard had gone, he's knocked his tail off, you see, knocked the rear wing off. I said this morning when he went off and deranged the rear suspension, I hoped for his sake that his irascible team boss, Guy Ligier, was not here in Adelaide, because he's been very displeased with Griard in the second half of the season and is dropping him for 1990. And Griard must be trying very hard to improve his reputation, and he is signally failing at the present moment.
This is Alain Prost looking for a fast time. It now is down to whether he gets a trafficless ride. Now let's see what happens. And look at the bumps and look at the undulations. He's got to get a way through here. Seems to have gone off without any trouble at all. Past Martin Brundle there without being slowed up in any way. The suspension firmness of those cars is quite remarkable. To drive one of them, and I've been driving most of the leading Formula One cars this year, is quite unusual. There's no suspension at all. The visibility of the driver often disturbed by so many bumps. Difficult even to keep your feet on the pedals from time to time because of the harshness of the ride. Alain Prost coming down under heavy braking, not using the white lines incidentally, very important for a calculated driver such as him, because the coefficient of friction is different on a painted line than it is on a black top surface like tar macadam. Now only a couple of corners to go. Can he get a free lap? And it's one of the Benettons, or is it Alio there?
No, it's Maurizio Gugelmin in the march, and he's not in the way of Alain Prost, but Alain Prost is too slow, 2/10 of a second off Ayrton Senna's fastest time, and 2/10 of a second, for that matter, off his own fastest time.
Welcome back to Adelaide, and we've got the duel that we were wanting. Prost and Senna. Senna is still fastest, Prost just behind him. The times are getting faster. Let's now go back to the commentary position with Murray Walker and James Hunt.
15 minutes to go, 45 minutes completed. Gerhard Berger, that you see now, has got to dramatically improve on his 18th position. He can't rely on things being good tomorrow in terms of the weather. We hope it will be, but you mustn't assume, if you're a driver, that it is going to be. His fastest time, 1 minute 20.2, but that really doesn't matter. He's not trying to beat that. He's trying to beat 1 minute 17.949 of Ayrton Senna.
I don't think the Ferraris have been showing themselves to be too competitive at all this weekend so far. That's not a fast enough time. I don't think it was an absolute 10/10 lap he just did, but it was a hard enough lap to produce a better time than that.
As a spinner there, that is our camera looking at Alex Caffey going off in the Dallara. No harm done, except that he's overcooked it trying to straighten the car up. Rejoins the circuit, bumps over the curb. Senna over the line, followed by Mansell. Senna is fastest. He's going to try now to put pole position well and truly out of anybody's reach by shattering his 1:17.949, and do not think for one moment that he cannot do so. He has an absolutely awe-inspiring ability to pull a super fast lap out of the hat as and when he wants to, and he very often does it right in the closing stages of the practice period, like literally the last 60 seconds. Senna will go out just before the checkered flag comes out, which means to say that he's on a lap before it goes, and then he can get in a fast lap right in the closing stages and put it out of the reach of anybody else. He's coming up to one of the marches now. It's Gugelmin. Now, the non-qualifiers so far are Emanuele Pirro, the Italian in the Benetton, Olivier Griard, that we've seen in so much trouble in the Ligier, and the two Reals, quite expectedly, of Gachot and Rafanel. They, for sure, won't qualify. Senna, 1 minute 17.934, faster still, but only by 0.005 of a second, and I think he's got a quicker one left in him yet. And Prost is coming through to complete a lap. Nigel Mansell, incidentally, is in his spare car. He's obviously getting that set up. And Alain Prost is fastest. Now, 53.5 minutes with 6.5 minutes left to go. Alain Prost has taken pole position, half a second faster than Senna. 1 minute 17.4, and Senna is out.
And that looks a bit bent. Rear wing adrift. And that's Pierre-Henri Raffanel.
Here is some more surprising information. I've been saying how difficult the Williams car is to drive, but to prove me wrong, Thierry Boutsen has gone round second fastest now, only 0.3 of a second slower than Prost, which means to say that I think temporarily Senna is down to the second row of the grid, third fastest. Indeed, Prost is fastest, Boutsen second, Senna third, Martini fourth, Nannini fifth, and in sixth place it's Patrese. So both the Williams are going extremely well. How much longer? 5 minutes longer. Senna and Prost are both out. Prost has just gone round fastest. Senna will know. Berger is ahead of Prost on the circuit. And the needle match between the two McLaren drivers continues as Prost emerges behind Berger with Senna behind him and going through. Prost politely moved over, saw the distinctive car of Senna behind him and gave way.
Yes, and Senna picked a bad lap to start his flyer on then. He had to pass several cars, but they were doing their best to keep out of his way. But he won't want to have ruined it, to have used up all the grip of his tyres in this particular lap. Too much traffic. Now, he may abort it. It doesn't look like it. No, he's still hard on it. First gear.
Up towards the start finish line.
And that time will just pit Thierry Boutsen, so that moves Senna up into second place.
This is the Austrian, Gerhard Berger. McLaren next year, Ferrari this year. That's it. Winner in Portugal, second in Spain, second in Italy. And he won the Australian Grand Prix in 1987. Target 1:17.4. He's only in 23rd position at the moment. Quite amazing situation for Ferrari to be as far down as both Mansell and Berger are. Is Berger about to improve? 1:17.4 is his target. And we're now into the last half minute of the session. Well, he has improved his time, but not nearly enough to lift him up towards the front of the grid. The seconds are now ticking away with Prost still in pole position. It's coming up to 10 seconds to go. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and that is the end as Glenn Dix goes out onto the track with his checkered flag, and Prost fastest, 1:17.4. Senna second fastest, 1:17.7. Then it's Thierry Boutsen in the Williams, you can see the time. Martini in the Minardi, the top Pirelli runner. Fifth is Alessandro Nannini, the winner of the Japanese Grand Prix 2 weeks ago, Benetton Ford. Then the second Williams, so both the Williams are in the top 6 places, Riccardo Patrese, followed by Stefano Modena in his Brabham Judd and Andrea De Cesaris, and the honours are evenly spread between Goodyear and Pirelli in the top 8 with 4 each. And we still have 60 minutes of qualifying time tomorrow. That is the Ligier of Olivier Grouillard, the Frenchman. 600 horsepower and more from the Ford DFR behind him. The next out is the little Italian Pierluigi Martini, who is in 4th position on the grid at the present moment after yesterday's qualifying. There goes Jean Alesi, the Frenchman. One of the sensations of 1989, 14th on the grid, and I'm quite sure he'll be higher up than that when this afternoon's session finishes. And they're the only ones on the circuit at the present moment. There's the lineup at present after yesterday's qualifying session. Prost, some 0.3 of a second faster than Senna, and Senna even the last 60 seconds of practice. So, Sala, a man who has had his problems during 1989, but his teammate Minardi has just gone through to start a lap. And the important thing from the point of view of the Minardis and one or two other runners is that they are on Pirelli tyres, which have very good qualifying characteristics. The Goodyears have tended to be much better during the races. Well, they haven't tended to be, they have been much better in the races this year. But when the conditions have been right for Pirelli, they have been outstandingly good, and they are right here at Adelaide. It's a street circuit, it's slower than the quick ones, hasn't got the fast sweepers that places like Hockenheim have got, and that's where the Pirelli tyres pay off.
Yes, things are very quiet on the circuit at the moment, because after an hour and a half yesterday morning, with an hour of qualifying yesterday afternoon, and another hour and a half of free practice on the circuit this morning, most of the teams are pretty much arrived at the setup with the car they've got, so they won't be fiddling with the cars very much. And this hour will be purely about the tactics, because the only thing that counts is your one quickest lap. And with the sticky qualifying tyres, they last certainly only really at their best for one lap, and then they start to overheat, and in fact soon after that they blister and lose grip badly, but they're very sticky for the one flying lap. The point being, though, that it's they are looking for gaps in the traffic. There's the McLaren pit, and they're preparing Ayrton Senna's car there. He getting ready to go out, but having got ready, he will probably sit in the car, and then they will observe what's happening on the circuit and try and go out when there's as little traffic as possible.
There's Nigel Mansell, and while we're watching him, I'll tell you a little true story about this morning. Nigel's teammate, Gerhard Berger, had problems with his Ferrari, as a result of which he finished up 30th out of 30 this morning. He damaged his car. He wanted to go out in the spare car, which had been allocated to Nigel Mansell. The Ferrari team manager said, "Sorry, Gerhard, you can't use that. It has a special engine in for Nigel Mansell." Gerhard Berger is joining McLaren next year, and Ron Dennis, the boss of McLaren, popped his head round the back of the Ferrari garage and said, "Gerhard, you can borrow my spare McLaren if you like." Needless to say, he didn't. There is Gerhard Berger's car being readied after the problems he had this morning. And at the present moment, we know from our timing monitors that nobody has improved his time. They're still building up to racing speed. 5 minutes of this 60-minute session have gone. The conditions, I always say, are perfect when they are, and they really are absolutely excellent now. They're not quite as good as they were yesterday, though, because of the heat. And here we are, looking backwards from the Brabham of Martin Brundle. There he is. And a rear-mounted camera gives you an incredible impression of the speed that a Grand Prix car will do. We're being punched along by a Judd V8 engine that produces about 640, 650 horsepower. He's gone round racetrack hairpin, the second gear one, now into paddock turn, which is swirling away behind us, left-handed, building up to about 240 k's, round the right-hander into Foster's hairpin, second gear. Now, over the grid, those lines flashing through your picture are the grid's lines into the S's, second gear, left and right. Now, up to Wakefield turn, the right-hander. You can see the sparks striking away, and they are from the titanium skid plates which are mounted underneath Brundle's car to allow it to drag along the ground without damage. And the reason they want to allow it to drag along the ground in places where it is bumpy is that they want the ride height, that is the gap between the bottom of the car and the top of the road, to be as small as possible. There's the Stag Hotel disappearing in the distance. We go round the right-hander, sparks striking, now building up to the fastest part of the circuit. That is where Nigel Mansell had his tyre explode in 1986. There's a bit of fabric or something blowing there, and now, having gone up to about 290 k's, back to racetrack hairpin, and into the left-hander again.
That appears to be a bit of a gearbox or engine breather pipe flapping around at the back of the car. No, tell a lie, we've just had a message to say it's the camera cable. So it's the aerial from the camera.
So there we are, Martin Brundle, fast lap, backward-facing camera, and there's a lot more to come.
Track has had a bolt shear off his race car. The observers and marshals recognised it coming off the track, coming off the car, and he has been asked by his pit to come in and have an examination carried out on the car in case it's something vital. So practice continues, qualifying continues. It's very warm here. Nobody has yet beaten their times of yesterday, but I can expect a lot of hot laps to come in. Alain Prost still on the pole position as of yesterday's times, as you can see them listed there, but I think we're going to see fireworks as time progresses.
You're watching Pierre-Henri Raffanel in the monumentally unsuccessful Real, the German car. The Frenchman drove earlier this year for the Coloni team, which was equally unsuccessful, and he took his sponsorship money and said, I'm going to Real, and he went, and things have gone from bad to worse. He qualified only for the Monaco Grand Prix earlier this year, in which he failed to finish, and that was in a Coloni, and since then he has failed to pre-qualify 8 times, and since he joined the Real team he has failed 6 times to qualify, because his smart move, he thought, was to leave the Coloni team, which had to pre-qualify, and join the Real team, which, thanks to the fact that Christian Danner, the German, who has since been fired by Real, had scored some points, did not have to pre-qualify. Well, all he did was to move from not pre-qualifying to not qualifying. And I don't think he's going to do so today, sadly for him, because he was 30th and slowest in yesterday's qualifying 60-minute session. Here's a man who's going to qualify, no doubt about that. Nigel Mansell, who, after a lot of work since yesterday afternoon's unsuccessful session, in which he was only 16th on the grid, has moved up to 5th fastest this morning, despite the fact that he and Nelson Piquet made violent contact and shattered the rear wing of Mansell's Ferrari, and it didn't do Piquet's Lotus much good either. Now, I'm interested that Nigel Mansell has opted to come out early in the session. It's a 60-minute session. We're only 13 minutes into it at the present moment. And there is news from Alan Jones, who is with Riccardo Patrese in the pit lane.
Thanks, Murray. Well, Riccardo, like a lot of other drivers that are in the top teams, you're not out at the moment. Why is this?
Well, I'm waiting for the best opportunity to get a good lap time, and I think the track should improve during the section, so because of that I'm waiting a little bit. I don't think today is very easy to improve yesterday's time, because the temperature is hotter, and the temperature of the asphalt is very delicate to performance. I think it's going to be very difficult to be quicker than yesterday, but I will try, of course, but I wait 25 minutes, 30 minutes, and then I go out to have a 2 set of qualifiers, one after the other.
Riccardo, do you think there could be a little bit more rubber on the circuit, which might make it a little bit quicker?
I don't know. I think, first of all, when you stop for 1.5 hours, there is some dust on the track. It's better that some cars, they clean the track. But about the rubber, I'm not so sure, because if you look the time of the pre-qualifying on Thursday, where the track was very dirty, it means that the temperature makes more influence than the rubber on the track. I mean, the first day on Thursday was quite cool, and they got in the 18, I think, the Pirelli and also Allio with the Goodyear. And after that day, the temperature was going higher and higher and higher, and today is the hottest day during qualifying, so maybe the temperature makes more influence for performance than the rubber.
Okay, Riccardo, thank you very much. Back to you, Murray.
Riccardo Patrese thinks that the higher temperature may make it a lot more difficult to go faster today. Well, I think we are soon going to know, because Nigel Mansell there needs to go a lot faster. He's only 16th on the grid at the moment with a time of 1 minute 19.525, complaining yesterday of an inability to get any grip. Now, the fastest time we had yesterday was Prost 1:17.4. You can see the time building there as Nigel Mansell comes up to the close of the lap, and it's certainly a lot quicker than yesterday for him. 1 minute 18.7, and that will move him up to, I think, 7th position, because he is nearly 2 seconds faster. Yes, Mansell goes up, as I say, back to 8th position on the grid, and with 15 minutes finished, 45 to go, it's Prost, Senna, Boutsen, Martini, Nannini, Patrese, Modena and Nigel Mansell 8th.
Yes, it will be interesting to see as the session unfolds whether the track is quick enough today, because it is undoubtedly hotter than yesterday, and that normally makes a track slower, but of course there's more rubber down on it, and it's very difficult to predict. But we'll see. It may well be that the high temperature we've got today will mean that for the quick men who had their cars well set up yesterday, they'll have to work very hard to improve their times. But of course, it's second day and it's the final qualifying, so everybody's giving it absolutely 110%. Or will be, but at the moment, people are sitting on their hands. Mansell is the only person who's really had a go at improving his time so far. Most people who have been out really for reconnaissance purposes, rather than just to have a look at the track, suss it out, warm themselves up. Ayrton Senna is done his bit, preparing, and there he is, just getting in his car. But of course he may sit there for a while, waiting, watching the times of the others on the monitor screen they'll show to him, and deciding also, and he'll be told by the rest of his team roughly how many cars are out on the track, because the fewer that are on the circuit at the time when you go out and want to do your time, the better, of course. Less chance of being held up by a car moving slowly ahead of you when you're on a quick lap.
Senna waits, and there is Pierluigi Martini, the Italian, who is 4th fastest on the grid as a result of yesterday's time, 1 minute 18.043. There is Andrea De Cesaris, who is in his Dallara, the Italian. He's quite well down by, well, no, not too bad, come to think of it. He's 9th fastest yesterday. He's on Pirelli tyres. We're talking a lot about tyres because they are going to be crucially important today and tomorrow, particularly on this circuit. The only man who has improved his time so far with 18 minutes out of 60 completed is Nigel Mansell, who has moved up from 16th place yesterday to 8th position today. Off the circuit has gone Bertrand Gachot in the second of the Rials.
Yes, in fact, at the back of the field, I think René Arnoux, I'll just check the time here. Yes, René Arnoux has also improved his time, which has got him into the race for the time being. He's got up to 25th fastest. Remember, it's the top 26 who start the race, and we've got 30 cars vying for those 26 slots on the grid. So Arnoux, at the moment, has got himself into the race.
Here's a man to watch, Alessandro Nannini, the personable Italian who won the Japanese Grand Prix 2 weekends ago, driving this Benetton Ford. And the interesting thing about this combination is that Nannini has behind him the new development Ford V8 engine, which he used for qualifying extremely well in Japan, and is trying to do the same thing here in Adelaide, knowing how important it is to be well up the grid. It has more power, but they are not totally happy about reliability yet, and it is their intention to use it only for qualifying. So Alessandro Nannini, one victory in Grand Prix racing. He's finished second. He's finished third on 2 occasions this year. 41 points in his career. The man who started his competition career on motorcycles, actually, and then went on to become a rally driver, driving a Lancia Stratos, before joining the Minardi Formula One team, which used the turbocharged Motori Moderni engine, which really was not capable of getting the job done. But even so, Nannini demonstrated that he had an enormous amount of talent. And it's there. We're back again with Martin Brundle's camera, and you'll be back with us soon.
Grand Prix of Australia, and the man that we all expect to go for it in these few minutes that are left, those 40 minutes that are left here, will be Ayrton Senna. Now, can he do it? Can he pit Alain Prost for this pole position? He's going out now. I suspect he's not on his qualifying tyres. I suspect he's in race tyres to get himself into the mood, to get the balance of the car back, to find out if the temperature is playing up in any way. The car will be set up with the right amount of fuel in it for a qualifying lap so that he can get the feel of the motor car. So that's going to be what we're looking for there. Now, let's go down to Barry, who's in the pits.
Yeah, Jackie, I was just talking to Alan Prost, and he's standing in the garage watching the television, and he said that he'll be going out in a couple of minutes' time, and the reason he hasn't gone out as yet because there's a lot of traffic on the road, and he's just waiting to see what times other people are putting up, and he's going to go out, and he said that he thinks it'll be very difficult to improve upon the time because the temperature, track temperature's a lot higher than it was yesterday, so he's just going to hope for the best. Over back to you, Jackie.
Well, thank you very much, Barry. You can see Ayrton Senna's driving a bit harder. He went right over that curb. I think it means that at least he's trying a little bit, Murray.
Yes, I think we have to be honest and say that most people expect Ayrton Senna to take pole position from Alain Prost, because the Brazilian has a quite uncanny ability to pull out a really fast, blindingly fast lap when he has to. And the pressure is really on him now. He wants that pole position for psychological and practical reasons. You can see the time building. There is the time to go for, 1:17.4, and it is now Ayrton Senna in pole position, 3/10 faster than Alain Prost.
Yes, and that will be his first set of qualifiers that he's used. And I think this afternoon he's opted to get this pole position for both sets of tyres to be qualifiers, because they were new tyres that he came out on with the labels on. And he'll be very pleased with that in these hot conditions. And also, just ahead of Senna, JJ Leto went out, and the young Finn, who just joined the Onyx team a couple of races ago. There is Derek Warwick in the arrows. We're looking from his onboard camera as he goes round. Yes, and Leto has improved his time down to 20th place on the grid, but he in fact went a lot quicker than that in the untimed session this morning. In free practice, he was over a second quicker than that and was 6th fastest this morning. So the young and very talented Finn has been very impressive so far. So Warwick building up to speed now.
While I just look at Derek Warwick here for a moment driving around there, may I just speculate the fact that the performance just achieved by Ayrton Senna, to me, is quite remarkable, because in fact that was his first fast lap of this final hour. He's been out of the car a long time. He went out on clearly fast tyres, but to switch it on that quickly, James, is quite a remarkable act. This is why the man is so special.
Exactly, absolutely right, because the other thing is, Jackie, as you know, he also has to produce that lap at a speed that he can't practice all the time. And of course that is a new record pole lap here to beat the pole time that Berger did 2 years ago with the help of a lot more power with a turbocharged engine. But certainly to get into the car stone cold, do one slow lap, because he can't do a hard lap for the first half of it because he overheats his qualifying tyres then. He has to bring them in and only do the last couple of corners quick and then just go for it flat out. It's very difficult to do, but it is the thing that marks the really great Grand Prix drivers, because all the really top ones can always produce this one lap anytime they need to. And if you go down the grid to the less talented drivers, that is one of the big differences between the really talented drivers and the lesser mortals.
And there is one of the really talented drivers, Alain Prost, knowing that he has lost pole position. Putting on his gloves, out he will come. He's been waiting for a break in the traffic. I wonder whether he's got one, because there are a lot of people out on the circuit, as you can see, as we watch Derek Warwick go round. And we are now in the 27th minute, coming up to halfway in the session, looking at Andrea de Cesaris, with Ayrton Senna in pole position, now 0.3 of a second faster than Prost. And as you've just heard from Jackie and James, it was an outstanding achievement of Senna's to go faster today in the heat than he was able to go yesterday. Alain Prost faces the same challenge, with Thierry Boutsen still in 4th place. De Cesaris, that we're looking at, is still 9th. Alain Prost eases out of the comparative gloom of the pit into the bright sunlight of the pit lane. And he will build up to racing speed. Got a completely new set of Goodyear tyres on his McLaren Honda. He stops momentarily so that the marshals can check that his tyres have got the number 2 painted on the side of them. Each driver is only allowed 2 sets of qualifying tyres, and they are all marked before the practice session begins, and the driver thus has to stop to enable the marshals to make sure that he's got the right tyres on. And they know from the colour of the paint. Berger is there, you can see that. He has been into the pit as JJ Leto comes out. Berger is just joining the track, and he will be well fired up after Ferrari's refusal this morning to let him use the spare car, which has a special engine in it for Nigel Mansell. And I have no doubt that Gerhard Berger, who after all won here in 1987 and has got a victory and 2 second places behind him this year, will be just as determined as Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna and Nigel Mansell, particularly in view of the fact that Berger's joining McLaren next year, to demonstrate that he is the fastest.
Well, there you see Berger is certainly on the limit, riding right up, using the curb there to catch the car. Hard on the brakes now, back into the twistier part of the circuit. And it looks like he's aborted that lap, possibly. He seems to slow it down then.
James, the question of those curves always worry me, and I'm expecting to see a major accident occurring by the overuse of those curves because of those wide tyres and the characteristics of the radial tyres that exist today. It's very easy to hook a car up on the edge of those curves, as did Nigel Mansell in Japan last year. And it's really a folly to use them too often because there's little or no suspension left there, and it can produce a very erratic behavior in the car.
That's absolutely right. But very often, if you hit those curbs, certainly if you try to fight the car as you're hitting it, the car behaves very strangely indeed, goes all over the place. And it is certainly a risky thing to do, to use them and use them a lot. And basically you have to be ready and let the car float and let the car go on its own, and that looks like...
It's Philippe Alliot, the Frenchman, in the Lola Lamborghini. Gerhard Berger in the background with the yellow flashes on his wing is in 12th position on the grid with yesterday's time. And yesterday's time for Gerhard was 1 minute 19.238. He's got to improve on that. Apart from Ayrton Senna, the only man amongst the top runners to improve so far is Nigel Mansell. Alain Prost there, looking for a clear track in front of him, is coming round to start what is undoubtedly going to be a very quick lap. So we've got 2 of the really fast men on the circuit at the moment. Alain Prost, world champion of 1989. There he goes across the line. Now, is this going to be his first try on his first set of tyres? Well, he doesn't look as though he's going all that fast to me. He's just gone round in 1:18.099, which is well down on yesterday's time and indicative to me that he's not yet on his fast lap. And I'm waiting to see where Gerhard Berger is, for that matter, as Prost who is second on the grid at the moment. There's Berger. He was obviously unhappy with something about the car, which will have been readied after the problem he had in this morning's 1.5-hour free session. The times are recorded, but they do not count for the grid. Oh, you can see he's not the body language there, the shrug, the wave of the hands, the eyes looking upwards seem to indicate to me that Gerhard Berger is not at all happy with the car, with the way the car is going. He's in 12th place now. His time today was 6 seconds slower than yesterday. Nigel Mansell is in 8th position on the grid at the moment. 2 cars at his disposal. Out he comes again. He's gone faster once. There is a limited life for tyres in qualifying. Adelaide is not as tough on the tyres as it was last year when the cars had turbo engines developing some 850 horsepower. Less power, therefore less wear this year.
Well, interestingly enough, with just over half an hour, over half of the session gone, in the top 20, only 2 drivers have improved their time over yesterday. That's Senna, who of course has gone to the front, and Nigel Mansell, who we would have expected because he didn't have a very good time yesterday.
Nigel Mansell comes out of the pit. He's starting a lap. Join us soon.
To go down Brabham Straight, a very long straight that gets him up to around 290 kilometers per hour. Ayrton Senna, if you're just joining us in this telecast, has just grabbed pole position from the time set yesterday by Alain Prost, and there you can see it on your screen. Terry Boutsen, the Belgium, is still in 3rd position with the Williams car, the newly designed Williams. Then Martini, the sensation of this race, is 4th fastest. Now the Williams team have not yet been out. There is our latest update, because Nannini has grabbed 3rd position with a time of 1:17.762, driving the Benetton with the new development Ford engine, as we look at Nigel Mansell coming on from a quick lap, we think, as he comes round. A wonderful camera position. Look at this, look at him riding the curves. You're looking at Nigel Mansell driving on the limit. This is what racing drivers are paid the large amounts of money for. Reputably, in his case, $8 million for the 1990 season coming up. And now he's going to earn it in roughly about 1 minute and 17 and a bit seconds, if it's fast enough. Are the Ferraris quick enough this weekend? We'll find out now, Murray.
Not so far, they're not. Nigel Mansell, 8th fastest after improving on yesterday's time, 1:18.774, and that is 1.6 seconds slower than Ayrton Senna's pole time, which he's trying to beat now.
And he's chosen a good time to go onto the track because there's not a lot of traffic about. He's had a clear lap so far, but this may well be the last chance for Mansell, because I have a feeling this is his 2nd set of qualifiers. He's been out earlier and he only did a 1-lap run, which looked like his 1st set. So coming around the final turn onto the start-finish straight. And it improves his time, and it moves Mansell up to 6th, 1:18.313. So 6th place for Nigel Mansell. He's improved it a bit, but he would have liked to have done better.
I would suggest that that may well be the fastest time that you'll see out of Nigel Mansell. Right now, let's go down to Alan Jones in the pits with Derek Warwick.
Thanks very much, Jackie. Well, Derek Warwick, driving one of our camera cars this weekend, has been out, so I'm going to ask him what conditions are like vis-a-vis yesterday.
Well, the conditions this afternoon have got much worse. Obviously, it's a lot hotter now, so therefore the track temperature's a lot higher, and that makes it slower anyway. But that aside, they've done a parade here of about 30 or 40 cars, and unfortunately what that's done is it's brought all the stuff from the outside of the circuit onto the racing line, and it's taken us a little while to clear it. So really, I think it's going to be a mad dash at the end. That's why you're seeing time slower than this morning.
So you think towards the end of this session, everyone will be out and going for it on their last set?
Yeah, and that's the problem with qualifiers, because you don't get a second chance. You get 1 lap, bang, and that's it. So if you get balked, everybody's going to be out there. It's going to be a heavy 15 minutes at the end.
Okay, thanks very much, Derek. Back to you at the commentary position.
Well, what Derek Warwick has said, and there is his teammate Eddie Cheever in the arrows, identical to that of Warwick out on the track. What Derek Warwick has said underlines the brilliance of Ayrton Senna, who improved on his yesterday's lap time by 0.6 of a second. Alain Prost, conversely, has gone slower on his first set of tyres than he went yesterday. He's just going out on the circuit now to have another try for pole position. We are 40 minutes into the session, 2/3 of it completed, 20 minutes to go. There is Senna. Well, Senna's done this many times before, gone out, achieved pole position, stupefied everybody, and then calmly gone out again and knocked another big chunk off the pole position time that he had just put up. He seems to have this ability of being able to concentrate all his energies and thinking to an incredible extent, and to get absolutely the last ounce of performance out of his McLaren Honda. He leads now on the grid, fastest man, 40 minutes completed, and he is 0.3 of a second faster than Prost, with Prost yesterday's time. Nannini, and there is Alain Prost. He's going out very soon. The temperature and the excitement is rising. Nannini is in a fine third position, excellent, with the development Ford engine in his Benetton. He's pushed Thierry Boutsen in the Williams Renault down to 4th place. Riccardo Patrese, Boutsen's teammate, is 5th. Pierluigi Martini, who was 4th after yesterday's session, is 6th now. And so Prost, by the time you come back, will be out on the track, and Senna will have completed his lap.
Set, and he's trying for yet a faster pole position. Ayrton Senna from Brazil, he was held up by the starter at the beginning. He was quite enraged by it. Now he's on the track itself.
Yes, yesterday's time was 1 minute 17.712. You can see that there is very little of the lap left. Alain Prost is still in second position. There is the time to beat. 1:17.188, and then we'll know the answer to it in about 5 or 6 seconds. 14, 15, 16, and Ayrton Senna stops the clock at 1:16.665. That is a new pole position time, and as you can see, it is 0.8 of a second faster than Prost.
Yes, truly exceptional lap that, Jackie, wasn't it? Senna just seems to be able to produce it, and he timed it well because he got a clear lap, only past one car, and that was his friend Gugelmin, who duly got out of the way.
And down in the pits, I think Barry has got Alain Prost with him.
Well, no, I don't have Alain with me. He's sitting in the car, and he's got his second and final set of qualifiers on. And he's got it all to do now, because 0.8 of a second, Murray, as you know, is an absolutely monumental amount of time. And a lot of people are saying coming in that you've got to be really lucky to get a clear lap, and obviously that was what Senna did. So I'd hate to be sitting in Prost's shoes at the moment. Back to you, Murray.
Yes, I guess I would too. Prost still second with nearly a second, and Gerhard Berger is having his Ferrari pushed back, so he's obviously stopping again and has got to come back to the pits. Meantime, Pierluigi Martini has improved his position. He had been pushed down by Alessandro Nannini, but he's now higher up than he was yesterday, as Gerhard Berger gloomily, frustratedly, and probably angrily walks away from yet another broken Ferrari. And now it's Martini in the Minardi up into 3rd on the grid. Senna is in pole position for the 42nd time, 0.8 of a second ahead of Alain Prost, and Alain Prost is at the moment just 0.2 of a second faster than Martini, 3rd on the grid. But Alain Prost's time was a Friday time. He has still not improved on his time yesterday. Ayrton Senna certainly has done so. Non-qualifiers at the moment are Jonathan Palmer, who is 27th, Louis Sala in the second Minardi, who is 28th, and the 2 Reals, who are fated again not to make it, and Nicola Larini, the Italian in the Osella, which he makes go much faster than it wants to, is currently in 11th place, as Jean Alesi on the left, number 4, goes past Riccardo Patrese, who's building up to speed, and is passed also by Emanuele Pirro. The session now only has 13 minutes now. Thierry Boutsen is one of the very few who have not been out to create a new time. Riccardo Patrese has, and Boutsen is the only one who hasn't had a Saturday time so far in the top 20. And of the top 20, the ones who have improved are Ayrton Senna, who has gone up to pole position, Pierluigi Martini, who is now third, Nannini, who is now fourth, Riccardo Patrese, who is sixth, ahead of Nigel Mansell, seventh, Nicola Larini, that we have just been looking at, who is now in 11th place with an improvement on yesterday's time. And the biggest improvement in terms of placing is Emanuele Pirro, who has gone up to 13th position on the grid from 20th yesterday. This is Riccardo Patrese. On Sunday, he will be driving in his 192nd Grand Prix. Very much a record. He's in the FW13 Williams with the Renault V10 Evolution engine behind him. They have 3 different types of engine here at Adelaide, and Patrese is in 6th position, and he is 1/10 of a second slower than his teammate Thierry Boutsen, who is on yesterday's time and has yet to go out. Riccardo Patrese. Well, you can see that he's really trying. Watch the car on the bumps. See the way the side pods flare out to accommodate the radiators. Is he going to lose time? No. Very clean pass there. It was Boutsen, who is now out, who moved over and let him through. Whoops, and Patrese goes very wide over the curb. Passes Jean Alesi. He will have lost a little time there. Not much momentum will have been lost, but maybe 1/10 of a second or so will have disappeared that he might have had in hand. Absolutely on the ragged edge is Riccardo Patrese, trying to improve on his 6th position, and in order to do so he needs to go faster than 1:17.791, which is Boutsen's time. And he fails to do so, 2/10 of a second off, and I would expect that to be due to the fact that the circuit is hotter and therefore slower than it was yesterday. And news from Barry Sheen in the pit lane.
Yeah, I'm downstairs here with Ayrton. Ayrton, incredible 16.6, so that's 0.8 of a second quicker than Alan Prost.
So far, it's not finished yet, it's not over, so of course I had a very quick lap. It was not a good, well-driven lap, you know, it was a bit rough, and I didn't get the tires to work properly at the beginning of the lap, and as well the brakes. But given the circumstance, was the best I could do, and now it's down to the other people to do what they can as well. We have to wait the end of the session, see if anybody can beat our time or not.
If, say, for example, if Alan goes out and betters your time, will you go out again?
No, because we have today 2 sets of qualifying tires. They are only good for 1 quick lap. Yesterday I was blocked in that quick lap, so my time was not a good one yesterday. Today I had no traffic. I was able to do a clean lap, and was a good lap. The car was better too. So I'm satisfied. I have a good run, and if somebody else can do better, they should deserve both.
Yeah, I agree with you. Thanks very much, Ed.
Very well done to get Ayrton Senna after a hot lap like that. I'd have to speculate for those at home that was a 29-year-old man you were looking at. I think he had more years on his face than one of 29. The other speculation I would make is the fact that he said there were so many things that were wrong with his car during that incredibly fast lap. If everything was right, I hate to think what speed he might have done. But nevertheless, another observation might have been that the only man really ready to threaten him for pole position is most likely to be Prost, and he wouldn't mention him by name. He said the other people, and that's reflective of what is happening this weekend between those two very great and talented drivers. But what a performance he just put up to grab the pole at a time that I would say threatens your money with Alan Jones, Murray.
Yes, Ayrton Senna, as usual, making a triumph sound like a disaster. Magnificent pole position. And as you say, Jackie, Alain Prost with 8/10 to gain, I think is in a pretty hopeless position. It looks like Senna for the 42nd time. Martini is still third on the grid with only a few minutes left to go now. 8 minutes left to go in this 60-minute session. You're looking at Thierry Boutsen, who is fighting to improve his 5th place on the grid. His time yesterday was 1 minute 17.8 in round figures, and Nannini, who has just placed him, 1 minute 17.76. And Prost is now, as you can see, motoring gently out of the pit lane to attack Ayrton Senna's time of 1 minute 16.665, as Boutsen, seemingly not happy, rolls into the pit. Prost rolls out, his tyres have been checked, but he doesn't roll out, he sits there. Now he moves away, and I think we're really going to see some action now. But as ever, it will depend on the luck of the man who is out there in having a clear track in front of him. Ayrton Senna has done what he had to do. He has used his 2 set of qualifying tyres. There is no life left in either of them now, so there is no point in him even thinking of going out again. I noticed that he said the other person had yet to go out. Well, the other person is now out, but he's out on a very hot track, and he's out with the knowledge that the supreme qualifier has done it yet again. And the supreme non-qualifiers at the moment are Jonathan Palmer in 27th position, who is some 3/10 of a second off the qualifying pace of Rene Arnoux, who is last in at the moment. Sala, the Spanish driver, hasn't qualified, and neither have Gachot or Rafanel.
Prost now starting to build up speed. He would have taken the first half of this lap very slowly, so as not, because the qualifying tyres don't need a lot to get them hot. It's just the last 3 or 4 corners to push them hard then. If he starts too early in the lap, by the time he finishes his quick lap, they will be past their best. And the timing is essential, but now he's getting them hot, and it's just under 6 minutes to go in the session. So, this is Prost's one shot to get near Ayrton Senna. We don't think he's going to get very close to it. Just a slight locking of the left front there, little puff of smoke. No, he doesn't use all the road here to get back on the line for the left-hander. Prost, as usual, very smooth.
The cleanness of his driving, James, I think the lack of great curb use, again, is a hallmark of Prost's driving. When he does a very quick one, seldom is it actually visible as a super fast lap, whereas Mansell and Senna do become spectacular.
Absolutely, but I think possibly that is reflected in the fact that Prost isn't quite as quick. He's got a slow car there, but that's Mansell letting him through. Mansell quite rightly lets him through, doesn't hold Prost up. And but Prost certainly goes very, very quick without looking quick at all, and as you see there, he's keeping the car beautifully smooth.
Looking at our clock on our screen, it doesn't look like he's going to do it from what we've judged from seeing Ayrton Senna at the same part of the track on the stopwatch. Let's watch for it.
1:17.625.
No, and that doesn't even improve on his yesterday's time. So that pretty much means it's all over as far as the front row of the grid is concerned.
Well, Alan Prost this afternoon will probably go out, get his golf clubs and go out to Royal Adelaide like he and I did yesterday to play some golf this afternoon. He was amazingly relaxed, and there's Nigel Mansell, incidentally, trying to get it on, and he's probably on a quick lap. But Prost has this great ability to switch off and stay away from his motor racing, something that not every racing driver can do.
Yes, very much the opposite to Ayrton Senna, who is totally involved. He lives it every waking minute and probably dreams about it in his sleep as well, and he's immensely intense in that he's always thinking about the car, always trying to improve it. Prost gets the job done and switches off. But come the race, Prost will be going for it tomorrow. This is qualifying form we've been talking about, and in the race Prost is as fast as Senna, or just about, and for sure they will be battling it out tomorrow. Prost, each one really badly wants to beat the other.
Indeed they do, and tomorrow is going to be the clincher, the last Grand Prix of 1989, when Prost, who is world champion, will be wishing to demonstrate that he has every right to be world champion, and Senna, who is not but was last year and regards himself as having been cheated of the championship this year, will be equally determined to finish at the top. Walks away on the inset looking not at all unhappy with himself. With now 2.5 minutes to go, Eddie Cheever is our host around the Adelaide circuit in his camera-equipped arrows, and he'll be carrying a camera tomorrow, as will his teammate Derek Warwick. And at the present moment, Warwick is in 19th position on the grid, so we're going to see a lot of cars in front of us. Cheever, that we're with now, is 22nd on the grid, so we're going to be tending to see cars in front rather than cars coming through, and that's Derek Warwick into the pit lane. And now 2 minutes to go. Ayrton Senna has achieved the 42nd, I apologise to him, the 42nd pole position of his considerable career. That is Joe Ramirez talking to Alain Prost there, who is going to be in second position on the grid. And Ayrton Senna's pole position today is his 13th of this year out of 16 races. Everyone except 3 have been Senna in the front, and that equals his 1988 all-time record. 26 pole positions in 2 seasons. Amazing. Down to racetrack hairpin for the last time with Eddie Cheever, and over to Barry Sheed.
Yeah, Murray, I'm standing down here with Alan. Alan, you went out and gave it your best. What happened?
The car was not right like yesterday. I think it's only because the temperature changed and the track condition changed and the qualifying tires. In this condition, it's very difficult for me to make them work, and I can't make work the front tires, and then I have some wheel spin problem also. It's there's nothing to do. I have traffic. I think I could improve my time, but I could not do the pole. I think the grip was not good enough for me.
Well, you're on the front row of the grid, so it's you need to make a good start.
Yeah, exactly. It's most important. But the rest will be not only the start, but for sure, if I do a good start, then it will be very important anyway.
You'll be more than happy.
Sorry?
I said you'll be very happy if you make a good start.
Yeah. Last year I was in the same position, and then I did a good start and I won the race quite easy, but I hope it will be the same. You know, as I said this morning, the car is very different in the race condition and qualifying. I think it should be okay.
Okay, thanks a lot, Alan. Back to you, Murray.
Well, while Barry Sheed has been talking to Alain Prost, this is what has happened. Here is Eddie Cheever coming out of the pit lane and losing it and shattering the camera and shattering the motor car too. Eddie Cheever, in his arrows, completely loses it, throws the steering wheel away in absolute disgust with his arrows blocking the track. And that was 1 minute before the end of practice. The red flag has gone out. Glenn Dix is standing at the end of the pit lane. Here's a replay. It goes round to the left. The back of the car swings round, hits the concrete wall on the edge of the circuit. The debris fencing protects the spectators, and you can see that the transmission, the gearbox, the suspension of the arrows are completely destroyed. Look down on it from above. Eddie Cheever is out of the car. You can see the marks on the ground. I wonder if something locked up. I'm hypothesizing. Jackie?
No, I think he just made a mistake. There's his steering wheel lying on the track. He got out of his car, ran with the steering wheel, then dropped it before jumping over. He threw it out of the cockpit of the car, but he then jumped over the wall and got away. It looked to me like the car understeered, and there we can see it. He goes into the corner. He's now on understeer. You can see the front wheels. He's just running short. He gets into opposite lock. He runs right over the curb, and that's what caused his accident. This rear left wheel was categorically on the dirt, not on the curb. He had gone right over the curb. The car probably was half on the air because there's so little ground clearance that the tires weren't getting onto the road surface or even the dirt. So that's a fairly big accident. You're looking at all the oil and water that comes out naturally from all of the tanks and pipelines that are wrenched and tortured and ruptured after an accident of that kind. He was perfectly all right, incidentally, if we haven't clarified that to you. He jumped over the wall very agilely without any trouble. There may still be a few seconds of practice left, but it may be terminated altogether. In fact, practice is over 1 minute early. We'll hear confirmation of that from the control tower, because Nigel Mansell, in fact, was waiting on the line to try and get out when the red flag was shown. There you see that debris lying there, and that car will take a lot of fixing, Murray.
Indeed it will, and so will the course, and that's why practice has been stopped 24 seconds early, to be absolutely pedantic about it. And there's no way I can see that the practice will be restarted for the sake of 24 seconds with broken cameras hanging, with oil all over the circuit, with a broken car to be retrieved, with a lot more still to do here. Everybody's going off at the same place. Alio went off there, Nannini went off there, now Mansell's gone. Now let's look at this. You see the back of the car breakaway. It fishtails, he spins round 360 degrees. He's riding on water. There is absolutely nothing he can do to get steering way. You're totally out of control, and the car is into the wall, and there's Johan Vildelprat, who is the chief mechanic of Ferrari, sadly shaking his head because he knows that they've got to get that spare car ready.
Now, ironically, all of the accidents, that's Nannini's accident, Alio's accident, have all been at Brewery. And there they are again throwing the red flag because Nigel Mansell, and that is Berger sitting in that car. That seems to be Gerhard Berger, surely.
It is Gerhard Berger. No, it's not. It's Mansell. I apologise. See the red helmet?
Ah, yes, there
and
it is.
the Union Jack. You see the Union Jack there?
My God, it's still flying. Well, the red flag has been given. It's just a declaration of the severe conditions. This is going to be a very exciting television race. It's going to be a wet race for our spectators who are live sitting out in the bleachers and grandstands here. But that accident of Nigel Mansell's was a very fast corner. The car got out of shape. Then it whipped around. Almost what I call a motorcycle accident, where it goes into what I call a tank slapper. It went suddenly in the direction in which the driver had turned the steering wheel, and it whipped around and suddenly got right out of control on that water. And once those big tires goes, and Alan
Prost, he's gone off somewhere.
And now, he's after the red flag, and it's right on at the back of the racetrack here. Right on, way over here.
It's on Victoria Park Racecourse, just in front of the grandstand over there. And, well, I mean, Adelaide is turning into a river, and sadly, Jackie, I have now to start questioning in my mind whether or not the race will be able to go on if it continues like this.
Oh, I think the race will go on. It may have a slightly delayed start, who knows. There's no damage, it would appear, to Alan Prost's car. The white flag being shown there is the pace cars, and there you see from our helicopter position, apparently no damage being done. Here again is the Nigel Mansell accident. Look, it was almost on the straight there. Suddenly the car hit water, spun round, went in the direction. He's got the wheels locked up. You can see there's no spray coming from the wheels. That means they're not turning. So he had the brakes fully on, like all of us would under those conditions, and a heavy impact. And there you see Ayrton Senna being reversed back into his garage.
Now there's the man who's metaphorically laughing. His teammate Alain Prost has gone off. They'll have to do work on his car. It won't have done anything for Alain Prost peace of mind because he's lost the car and will be very, very unhappy. Senna, on the other hand, has got a whole car. He knows he's got away with a 360-degree spin, and I think he's going to be much more relaxed.
Much has been talked about in this morning's papers of his belief in God. This is the city of churches. And in fact, I think he must have visited every church this morning of every denomination because he got away with it.
Hello, there's an ambulance down there.
That's Nigel.
Yes.
I think he's hurt his legs.
Yes, well, I'm just wondering, actually, Jackie, whether he may have hurt his neck. He always wears a neck brace, and he's got a neck weakness, and from the way Nigel Mansell is moving and the way he waved to the crowd there, I do not think he is in the best of shape.
Professor Watkins, I think, is the man leaning down there. Is it the prof?
Yes, it is.
That's his white hair there?
Yes.
Well, he's a man who's pretty tough on the drivers. He makes his own mind up about whether there should be in ambulances or not.
Jackie, look at Nigel Mansell in the car now. He has the same posture that he had in the Japanese when he went off in practice.
Well, I don't think it can be that serious, because I'll tell you, if it was, Professor Watkins would have put him in an ambulance with a brace on, Murray. This man is probably one of the leading neurosurgeons in the world, and Nigel chose to go into that car. The prof would have overruled him and would have put him in an ambulance if there had been anything wrong. So Professor Watkins really is the expert. For Nigel just to be sitting in the car with his head back, I'm not suggesting he's not uncomfortable and he's not hurting, but it can't be really serious.
Well, Nigel coming back, we'll see whether he gets out of the car and whether he does anything about getting into his spare Ferrari. Now, for what it's worth, with now nearly 15 minutes of this 30-minute extra session having been completed, and you can see in the background there Alain Prost's car being towed in, or about to be towed in. Ayrton Senna has been fastest, 1 minute 45.5, and that is faster, much faster than René Arnoux, the tow line being connected to Prost's McLaren. I don't imagine that the car will have been damaged. We didn't see it happen. We just suddenly saw Prost's car stationary there. The marshal trying to fit himself in, and he'll have a heck of a job. He looks a big chap, and that car is tailor-made for Alain Prost. You can see he can't even get his backside in the top of the car, never mind the whole of his body. What he'll have to settle for is sitting on the side pod and using the steering wheel from outside. Senna fastest, Arnoux second, Nannini third. The session stopped for the second time. It was stopped at 10 minutes 14 seconds. It has been stopped at 14 minutes 35 seconds. And I was saying earlier on that Gerhard Berger had remarked on how slippery this course was in the dry, and he said in the wet it will be, there is Berger, in the wet it will be even more hazardous. He said we'll have the spray in front of us and the walls alongside us, and he said here the walls are bad. Now, once again, that is a demonstration of Ayrton Senna in his what I called withdrawn mode. Somehow or other, he just seems to sit in the car with his eyes focused on infinity and lets nothing disturb his concentration. Well, Senna is there. You'll be back with us soon.
It looks so ridiculously dangerous out there.
I tell you what, if they start this race in conditions like this, then I would say all the philosophy what they have is not right, because to say Senna is a dangerous driver, okay, that's the business of them. But to start a race on this is much more dangerous. And I tell you, I'm not a driver but don't like take risk. But this risk today is far way too much. On the straight, maybe the first car can handle the situation, the second car can handle the situation, but it's still difficult for them because you have so much aquaplaning, but the cars behind don't see anything, and you have no chance to go away from the track if somebody stops in front of you. You have just beton walls, and you cannot leave the track. So it means if a car spins in front of you, stays like this, you go in straight. And it's the most dangerous what for drivers can happen, and I think safety side, no way to start under these conditions.
Yeah, the whole thing is, it goes beyond the realms of skill. It's not skill to drive in conditions like that. It's just stupidity, really, isn't it?
You know, it's always, you always have to make a compromise, and I'm a driver would like to do, okay, go, but this is just so far away. It's, you know, you see in every corner crash somebody, and every 10 seconds you have a moment where the car is not possible to control, so I think it's just wrong.
Okay, thanks a lot, Gerhard. Over to you, Alan.
In the straight, and even if you don't want to push on, don't want to take risk, you always take a lot of risk, especially in the straight. I mean, you can't control your speed around the corners, but in the straight, if you want to push on, you have an aquaplaning problem.
Okay, and what about visibility? A lot of water staying on the circuit?
Yes, a lot.
Aquaplaning, it's from the beginning to the end of the straight, there's a lot of water, and it's nearly impossible to keep the foot flat.
Your car in the wet, good?
Yeah, the car is quite good. The biggest problem we're having now is all the apex of the corner is full of water, and the straight line also is full of water. They have two holes from the normal street, and you don't know where to go. No, it's very difficult. Try right side, left side, you get water everywhere.
First of all, the visibility is absolutely nothing. The straight stays in the air because the clouds are very low, because there's no wind, because there's these concrete walls. There is nowhere where this spray can go. The visibility is absolutely zero. The other thing is that this is not a circuit made for racing. It's a street circuit. It means that there is a lot of aquaplaning at different places where we go high speed, like all the way down the straight. I mean, there's a lot of aquaplaning there. We've seen a few accidents in these 2-3 laps that we've done. I mean, just reconnaissance laps going very slow. Accident happened. And I don't want anybody to be hurt in the race, and I don't think anybody wants anybody to be hurt. That's the other thing. The third thing is that when an accident happens like that, because of the spray and because of the water staying in the air, there's no way that I, driving at something like 150 miles an hour, could see a car which has stopped in the middle of the straight. And because there's these concrete walls, there's nowhere to go to avoid this car. So it's a combination of things which makes it very dangerous, and I think we should delay it until the conditions are a little bit better.
Yeah, Terry, some people have said, oh, well, in conditions like this, it sorts out the men from the boys, which personally I think is ridiculous to say that.
Yes, I don't want anybody to be hurt in this race, and I don't want to hurt myself, you know. It's a bit ridiculous because the risk is so big to have an accident in this kind of situation. I mean, we should delay it a little bit and see what happens, and as soon as it gets better, it's not going to rain all the time anyway. As soon as it gets better, everybody agrees to race, even in the wet. Okay, thanks a lot, Jerry. You're welcome.
There's Barry Sheen there with Jerry Bootson, and he certainly had his two bobs worth. It seems to me that his meeting with the FIA would suggest that the FIA have overruled any suggestion that you may have made.
All right, well, down on the pitch now, we've got Alan Jones with Rennie Arnoux. Thanks very much, Ken. Well, I'm down here in the Ligier pitch with Rennie Arnoux, who is actually one of the fastest qualifiers this morning in these wet conditions. Obviously, you don't mind these conditions, Rennie?
It was very difficult. There was a lot of water on the track, especially in a straight line. And it's not very easy to stay flat in a straight line. Anyway, it's for everybody like that.
Okay, and this is going to be your last race today in Formula One?
Yeah, normally I stop after this race in Formula One. Maybe I go to drive in Group C. And I like the wet track, but it's very difficult to stay on the road. And I hope to finish in a wet condition, to have a good finish for my career in Formula One.
Do you think if the conditions remain like this, they should think about not having the race, or do you think they should go ahead and have it anyway?
For me, I hope it's or it's rain when you start and it's rain for the race, or it doesn't rain and you go to the normal track. But if you start it rain and after you must stop for the tires, it's not very good for everybody. But the weather is like that for the moment.
Okay, thank you very much, Renee.
To get the right setup for the car out is still not very good, but I was really surprised because I was on full dunks, really full dunks, and second quickest behind McLaren Honda. That's not too bad, but my big handicap is to start on 14th place. The other problem is I have to run quite a big wing to do these times, so I'm slow on the straight, so I don't know how I overtake all the people in front of me. I have to find a new way, a new system, so that's the big thing. But it looks like anyway it gets to rain, so everything is different, and we will see.